Quiet down, quiet in the back. It's time to tap into fantasy. Welcome to Tap Into Fantasy, the podcast with a professional fantasy mind and an amateur beer palate. I'm Lance Gandy. You can find me on X at LG_fantasy. Let's raise a glass, even if it's empty. This is actually an actual stein, so it's actually heavy. May the best drafts of your past be the worst of your future. Let's tap in. It's time for the opening draft, where I will open a beer I usually haven't tried and sip along throughout the episode. The first few episodes, so including this one, are beers I saw at Specs the other day, but I want listeners to be able to suggest new beers I can use on future episodes. Just a precaution, I say for good reason that I have an amateur beer palate. I can barely tolerate most IPAs and sours. So maybe if some of my picks don't work out one week this season, I'll penalize myself with one of them, or even just a steel reserve. But that's on another level of bad. That would have to be the worst weekly picks of all time. So I'd like to get some listener suggestions. I've already had a few, and I'm having them shipped here actually as we speak. So please write in about any beer you want to see or hear me review. A crusher, a sipper, a don't even smell-er. I will try to get to them all. So please email the show at tapintofantasy@gmail.com with the beer and an explanation of why this beer needs my attention. The best explanations will be chosen, and, I'll shout you out on the show. Then I'll rank each beer on the big beer board on the website. Okay, so last episode, I tried a 2024 Goose Island Bourbon County brand stout. It's the first beer on the big beer board, so naturally it's ranked numero uno. I gave it a poor score of dangerously good, but an injury risk. You may be feeling the shit out of that beer the next morning. So I'd love it if you could friend me on Untappd so we can be awesome beer bros. The name is Tap Into Fantasy if you want to, be beer bros forever with me. So this episode, I will be opening a Weihenstephaner Korbinian. So I've had the Weihenstephaner everybody knows and loves, the Hefeweiss. It's such a good redraft fantasy beer because you can have multiple and it's not an overly heavy beer. You don't want something like that for a quick best ball draft because you kind of have to stay on your toes and take quick sips. The Goose Island Stout from last episode should never be had during any draft, or you'll end up with Joe Flacco as your starting QB. Something like this Korbinian is better for best ball. It's a heavier beer at 7.4%, but it won't knock you on your ass and leave you wondering why you chose 3 QBs in a row. So it's a dark Doppelbock, and I grabbed this from Untappd with a balance of fruity hints of plums and figs, a dark malt aroma reminiscent of toffee, nuts, and chocolate. With my experienced beer palate, I'm sure what I will get is beer. So let's read some Untappd reviews. Delicious Wednesday night traditions starting. That's dangerous beer on a Wednesday night, but, who am I kidding? I'm drinking this on a Thursday night, so why not? All right, another one. Sweet, dark malt aromas, light brown head with great retention, big-bodied, roasty, toffee, nutty, and biscuity. Great balance Well hidden booze. Soft, warming finish. Okay, I'm sorry, but if you say the words nutty and biscuity in a sentence, you've completely lost me and I'm walking away from you. Well, I guess let's pour this thing and give it a go. Alright. Well, I wish I had Das Boot again this episode, but there's some kind of gross thing in the toe of the boot, and it's impossible to get with a sponge, even with my tiny baby hands. So, we're going with the big stein. But let's open this Stephaner. Here is the full bottle. It's a pretty cool logo and everything. Let's open it up. All right. Pouring it in our huge Polliner stein. And this thing is glass. It is heavy. I actually did a holding competition with this. I came in second by like 5 seconds. So, yeah, much more head than last time on this one. It's actually darker than I thought it'd be. You can't really see through it at all, but let's, put it in my mouth. Yeah. All right. Clean, crisp, more reliable than my QB2. I don't know. The first thought I had was that, it was a good beer, but it wasn't, wowing me or anything. But that aftertaste got to me. I don't know. I'm now thinking if this beer was a player, I'd reach 2 rounds early. I mean, of course, my first 2 episodes had to have bomb beers. Like, I don't know if the next ones can live up to this. Like, they're all just going to be disappointments after these first 2. The thing I did not get is nutty and biscuity. God, gag me. Yeah. Like I said, that's a best ball beer. Okay. Well, let's go over a few things before all the fantasy talk. So we do have a website with some fun things to check out. It's tapintofantasy.com. My best ball rankings are there, and they're uploadable to DraftKings. They're specifically for DraftKings, so make sure to download it as a CSV file, and you can upload it to DK to have my rankings as your default. Some people just like to use the ADP rankings by position, just as like a little side Excel. I have a download for those people as well that keep the positions separated. I also have my PPR rankings that are totally separate from best ball that are downloadable on the site. All of those rankings are getting updated this weekend, so make sure to go check those out. I want to let you know that this episode is powered by Dubby Energy. Clean energy to keep your draft sharp, even with a hangover. Use promo code TAPINTOFANTASY for 10% off at checkout. That's TAPINTOFANTASY. And yes, I get a little kickback too. Happy pours, happy scores, folks. Okay, so on to our main topic this episode, quarterback strategy in best ball. So like I said, you can find my rankings on the site, but it's about more than the rankings. It's about values. It's about stacking opportunities and floor versus ceiling. So the 2 easiest picks in best ball, or really any type of draft you do, is Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen. They're bringing back the same coaching staffs for the most part. They're both still in their prime. The Ravens should have the same top pass catchers, and the Bills only added more with Josh Palmer. In best ball, beginning of May, Josh Allen was going pick 22, and Lamar was at 25. That's changed to 28 and 30, which is a really big jump for that early in the draft. So they're just getting cheaper. Many of the mid-round QBs are staying put or getting more expensive, so they're easy clicks. I have Lamar ranked ahead by 1 spot on DraftKings, ahead of Josh Allen, but that's splitting hairs. They're 2 of the safest picks in the draft. They're easy to stack with. They both have a ton of pass catchers you can stack with. Um, so easy clicks on both of those guys. A QB that could possibly enter the second tier this year of my rankings is Bo Nix, or like I like to call him, Bo Nix. I have him ranked above Baker Mayfield and Patty Mahomes at QB6. He's QB8 on DraftKings and most of the platforms that I've seen. So from week 1 to 4 in 2024, Bo Nix was QB 22 in points per game. To be fair, I thought he was a third round pick talent, but I thought Sean Payton just like hubris drafted him in the first round. So my priors were being hard confirmed those first 4 weeks. But from weeks 5 through the end of the season, he was QB 5 in points per game. Like you could see him start to become sort of comfortable in the pocket. White Boy started showing off his wheels a bit, and Sean Payton was like, here you go. Here's open receivers on a platter for him. He had PFF's, or in 2025, he has PFF's second rated offensive line. He was 8th in rushing yards among QBs last year, and he should only get better. He's getting more comfortable with the offense and everything. The Broncos didn't lose any weapons, and they drafted R.J. Harvey, a dynamic pass catcher out of the backfield, and Pat Bryant in the 3rd round to be the next Michael Thomas. Like Sean Payton says that about everyone. But it is another weapon, so they don't have to use like Marvin Mims or Troy Franklin more than they have to. So if you miss out on those QBs, I wouldn't worry too much because you could just draft Drake May. Drake started his first game in week 6 last year. So from week 6 through the end of the year, he finished as QB 14 in points per game. Do you know where he's drafted right now? QB 17. Like, do you think he's going to get worse in his second season with multiple upgrades on the offensive line? And the running back room with Travion Henderson, and the receiving room with Steph Diggs and Kyle Williams. I mean, he was 4th in rushing yards per game from week 6 on. He was only behind Jaden Daniels, Lamar Jackson, and Jalen Hurts. He had one designed run all season. The rest were just like backyard scrambles he pulled out of his ass. So they wiped the slate of that inept coaching staff, and they brought on, I wouldn't say world beaters, but professionals who know how to run an offense, and Josh McDaniels, Thomas Brown, Doug Maroney, and others. So the only year Josh McDaniels had a rushing QB was 2020 with Cam Newton. I don't know if you remember that team, but if you go back and look at that offense, they were running some sick-ass plays with Cam as a designed rusher. Like, he had almost 600 yards rushing that year in 15 games, and he was pretty cooked at that point. So imagine what they can do for uncooked Drake May. What he did as a rookie with the trash around him was a borderline miracle. Okay, beer break. Getting more of the nutty and biscuity. It's coming around. I'm starting to get it on the back of my palate. Okay, just a joke. The final QB I want to talk about is Bryce Young. Look, if I had brought up Bryce Young as a potential breakout candidate last year, I would have been canceled off the planet. He looked like he'd been thrown out there without the playbook or play calls, just clueless. And when you're benched for a 37-year-old ginger, it changes a man. Bryce came back with like a sort of looseness after that. He was playing like his Bama days. Like I can't tell you how much his receiving core let him down in those games. It was tough to watch. But in spite of that, he was QB 12 from weeks 8 through 18, right behind Patty Mahomes. They have upgraded, thankfully, that pitiful pass catching group with a potential number one receiver in Tedoroa McMillan. Hopefully, Xavier Legette can actually be lined up as a flanker this year instead of at the X that they had him in all year, and he could be very useful. I still like Jalen Coker, too, and the vibes in Carolina are just kind of bumping. Like, I have him at QB 22, and this weekend I may bump him up a couple more spots, but he's being drafted on DK as QB 24. That's such an easy click. Like, JJ McCarthy, 9 spots ahead of him at QB. Like, what world are we living in where that's a thing? I don't know. It's one where this great beer is in. Okay. You know what? I'm feeling good. I've had, some sips of beer, so a little bonus QB pick that I'm fading here. I'm only doing this because you're my special little snowflake. Is Jared Goff. So he just ran a little too close to the sun last year with 37 touchdown passes. They scored 70 touchdowns last year and over 33 points per game. Like, that's over 4 touchdowns per game. That's just insane. So Vegas now has them around 25 points per game for 2025. It's still good. It's not otherworldly. He lost one of the top play callers in the league in Ben Johnson. Yes, Johnny Morton is there and will likely keep the same, play sheet, but the scripting and the play sequencing is going to be very different. Like, do you remember when the 2023 Eagles replaced Shane Steichen with a coach who had been there, and Brian Johnson? He kept the same playbook, and the Eagles' offense was all sorts of butthole. Like, it's not out of the realm of possibility for the Lions this year. Also, it's all been sort of jokey, sort of not, that he dominates in dome games and sucks in outdoor games. The stats actually do back it up for tiny BK Whopper Hands Goff. Although he was decent in outdoor games last year, he was still worse. He only has 10 dome games this year, down from 14 last year. I have him at QB 17, but he's being drafted right now at QB 11. Okay, so I hope you got something useful out of this best ball breakdown. This Korbinian is very hard to rank. I think I'm going to put it just behind the Goose Island Stout at number 2 on the beer board. But it's still just a badass beer for best ball. Like, they just go hand in hand. But that's going to do it for the first pour. I guess this is the second pour of Tap Into Fantasy. If you liked what you heard, make sure to follow the show. It helps the show find other degenerates like you. Hit me up on X at LG_fantasy. Thanks for tapping in. And until next time, happy pours, happy scores.